You sure?
Excited?
You look great. You know, it's funny, I sat with Carlson and I said, Doctor, more than my first. So, is he busy making lots of money? Nice to meet you.
I wanted to tell you, I apologize if I didn't look at you enough during the meditation. I got so much in the zone that I had a hard time remembering to open my eyes.
Good morning!
Good morning!
Good morning! Look at these beautiful faces. Excited by spring and this day and being together. And that was Mark Benfante playing guitar, and you're going to hear more from him in a little bit. So, welcome to Center for Spiritual Living Morristown. I am Frankie Timmers, the spiritual director here, and I am so happy to be here. I was so excited to get out of the house and arrive that I got here so early that I ended up not having anything to do, which is pretty rare. So, I'm glad you're here. Those of you that are here virtually, we're so glad that you are experiencing us, because we truly are a beautiful spiritual community. And whether you're watching now or later or next week or next year, I am sure that it's a contemporary message that applies every day, no matter what time it is. So today we have the theme of creativity through April, and that's part of the theme for the year, which is everyday living everyday miracles. And today the topic is Fools for God? What the heck is that about? So, and Lori Carlson, who is coming to the end of her practitioner studies, will share a wonderful spiritual practice with us. So, the idea of being a fool for God is really from the Sufi tradition, although we hear about that in other traditions, which you'll hear about in a minute. And the idea is about taking ourselves more lightly and less seriously, and to just remember that this life is about experience and learning and growing, and that when we take ourselves more lightly, the creative process just has more room and space within us and in our lives. So we're going to explore this idea, like, am I using the creative process consciously or not? Because I'm always using it. So if you'd like to know more about us, please check us out on the website, cslmorristown.org. And that's also a place where you can find out what we're about, what we're doing, what kind of workshops are coming up, and there's just a lot to learn on the website. And if you are on Facebook, use the thumbs, the heart emoji, or the thumb down. There's a thumb down now, right? You can also just make comments and just let us know what it is that you would love to see us do for you and how we can serve you. If you are on YouTube, you can make comments, and that's where they have both. So let us begin, or let us continue with a Namaste practice, which is the Sanskrit word for meaning of the divinity in me blesses the divinity in you. As we know, in some countries, that's how people greet each other. They don't shake hands, they do this. So it invites us to do it more consciously today, to not just give your blessing, but to really receive it. So take a moment, put your hands together by your heart, and say Namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste. Namaste. Namaste. So take that in. Somebody just said, I bless the divinity in you. And we sometimes doubt that divinity is in us, right? And bless the divinity always in each other. So let's know this. Let's know that there is a power and a presence that is everywhere. It's kind of like electricity. It's everywhere. But we have to apply it. So we can plug it into a socket and have light, or plug it into a socket and have a TV on, or plug it into a socket and have a hair blow dryer, or whatever it is that we want. It's that same thing. This power, this energy is everywhere present, available to everyone, and ever available. So today we call upon that to be more aware, to experience it in more creative ways, to see life from a lighter perspective, and to remember that with this energy, this life force, anything and everything is possible. That is worthy of celebration. With awe and gratitude, then, we simply claim it by saying together, and so it is. So, have you ever called anyone a fool?
Yes.
Yeah? Maybe thought it?
Many times.
Many times. That fool. Who have you called a fool?
Husband.
Husband. Yourself.
Okay.
Son.
Your son.
The president.
The president.
President. Hush now, Bill.
Putin.
President.
Right? So, yes, we do that, right? And so, have you ever been called a fool?
Oh, yes.
Yes, yes, yes. Maybe not out loud, but at least silently, right? So what if it's true? What if it's true? What if when somebody says, you're such a fool, you say, you're right? Instead of, no, I'm not, how dare you? And all the other stuff that happens, right? Because if we think about it from a spiritual perspective, we're all just fools for God. And of course, that means that there is a lightness of being that reminds us to just let go and to just laugh and to just remember that life is relative, it's temporary, that it's not as serious as we think it is, especially when we look at life from a spiritual, metaphysical perspective. And so I kind of imagine God, if I were to personalize or individualize God, that God looking down upon us and going, look at what she's doing. Oh my God. Oh my goodness. As my meditation teacher says, he imagines God looking at us saying, you're doing that with this gift that I've given you? And I know that God would never do that with shame, right? That's something that we project onto it. It is just being done from the awareness of that we have available to us a creative process, and with that we can do whatever we want to do, but we are the ones that limit ourselves. And so, do we take life too seriously? Probably. I think even when we are burdened, or we have a struggle, or we're suffering, or we have a great challenge before us, we get still too serious. There is always that invitation to bring more lightness to our experience, and sometimes all it takes is one breath. And so I love what the 14th century Sufi poet Hafez says, you are the sun, S-U-N, in drag. You are God hiding from yourself. Remove all the mind that is just a veil. Why ever worry about anything? Why ever worry about anything? Listen to what your friend Hafez knows for certain. Knows for certain. The appearance of this world is a magi's brilliant trick, though its affairs are nothing into nothing. You are a divine elephant with amnesia, trying to live in an anthole.
Oh, God.
Let me say that again. I need the reminder for myself. You are a divine elephant with amnesia, trying to live in an anthole. Sweetheart. Oh, sweetheart. You are God in drag. So there is this thing called God as a trickster. Just about every culture has in its stories, in its message, this idea that God is a trickster. Are you familiar with any of them?
No.
Have you ever heard of Coco Pelli? Coco Pelli is the Hopi trickster. And there's Coyote. You've heard of Coyote. Coyote is the trickster in the Navajo tradition. In Sufism, it's Hitter. Kidhr. In Yoruba, it's Eshu. And in Hindu, it's Hanuman. Lori and I were talking that we don't think there is one in Christianity. I wonder what that means, right? And in Sufism, there is the legendary Nasruddin, who is said to have lived about the same time as Jalaluddin Rumi, the 13th century poet, but there's a lot of legend around him, but there's a lot of really great stories. I have a couple of them. One day, there was news in every corner of the town about Nasruddin's donkey, which he had lost. When his neighbors heard the news, they got sad and decided to go to the mullah's house, the teacher's house, Nasruddin's house, and help him find his donkey. So they came to his house and saw that he was happy and thankful to God. They asked him, Mullah, aren't you sad about losing your donkey? Mullah laughed and said, I'm happier because God helped me that I wasn't riding it. Otherwise, I would be lost as well. Mullah Nasruddin had been calling on his girlfriend for over a year. One evening, the girl's father stopped him as he was leaving and asked, look here, young man, you have been seeing my daughter for a year now. And I would like to know whether your intentions are honorable or dishonorable. Nasruddin's face lit up. Do you mean to say, sir, I have a choice? One more. One day, the town's new conqueror asked Nasruddin, if I were a slave, how much would I cost? $500, said Nasruddin. What? The conqueror shouted in great anger. Just the clothes I'm wearing right now are worth more than $500. Yes, replied Nasruddin. I factored the clothes into the price. There are books filled with Nasruddin stories, the trickster, reminding us to not take life so seriously and to laugh at ourselves and each other. Because I often think that if I think of God as a person, that God sure is playing with me and playing tricks with me. And if I can remember to laugh, then there's a lightness that happens, and it's almost like the flow of the creative process makes itself known in a new way, and something breaks, something opens, something shifts. We're all already using the creative process. We've been talking about that all month. Reverend Janice so beautifully talked about that at our grand opening with our planting of our seeds. And then we learned about it last week, learning about how the creative process is how the universe works. And so the question is not so much, what's the creative process? Let me explain. It's more, am I using it or am I not using it? How am I using it? My life tells me how I'm using the creative process. Can I be more aware? Can I be more conscious? Can I make some different choices? The other thing that I believe is that it is using us. We're not just using it is using us. So our question then is, how is the creative process using me? Because how it is using me is completely different from how it's using you, and you, and you, and you. because we're each individualized expressions of the one. So it can never be what it is for you. It can only be what it is for me, myself, what it is for you, yourself. And so then it's like, how? And that requires that we pay attention. That requires that we listen, that we notice. And so whenever we are struggling, what if Spirit is being the trickster and we're being asked to trust the creative process just a little bit more? To trust that our consciousness is available to us to expand, to shine, and to look at life in a little bit of a different way. To truly trust that nothing can ever be against us. That no one can ever be against us. Because in a loving universe, we find that everything is for us. What a way to think, right? If I can go through life and say everything is happening for me and for my good. Think for a moment, if you thought that way all the time, and what would be different? How would you feel different? Would you be more relaxed or would you be more stressed? More relaxed. Would you trust more or would you be more suspicious? Right? And so then it's like, hello, I could have had a V8. So the question then is, what veil do I have to remove from my consciousness? What's in the way? What do I have to let go of? And I ask myself that question every day. And sometimes I'm like a pit bull. I just won't let go. It's not conscious. It's not on purpose. I just noticed I haven't let go. And can I then be a little more compassionate and even trust that, knowing that the creative process is using me for good? And so that's about freedom, right? We have the freedom to discover the creative process on our own. Just like you have the freedom to decide how you're going to use electricity. Just like you have the freedom how you're going to use food or water or your studies, right? And so we have to discover our own process, our own experience, our own way. That's really the purpose of life, I think. The purpose of life is to say, there's a creative process available to me that I can use. Well, what do I want to use it for? How do I want to use it? And can I not beat myself up for using it in a certain way, whatever I call that? And can I learn from my experiences so that it grows in me, it expands in me, becomes more powerful, more soulful, more loving, more peaceful, more harmonious? The biggest question that I think we have to ask ourselves is, what's bigger in my life? My problems, my struggles, or the creative process? That's a powerful question. What's bigger in me? My problems and my struggles, or the creative process? What is your answer?
Creative process.
Duh, right? And so the duh in me can be what's making me laugh. Ah, the trickster is at work, trying to make me think that my problems are bigger than my God, or the problems are bigger than the creative process. And so we can look at life and say, where I believe that my problems are bigger is pretty obvious. Just look over here, look over there, look in here. But there is something greater in me that wants to make itself known, that's laughing at me with love, not with shame, and inviting me to embrace this idea that it's actually not even either or. It's not even either or, my problems or the creative process. It's both and. Because if nothing is ever against me, then it's both the burden, the struggle, and the creative process that are both a gift and that blessing. So the question then again is, how do I live this? How do I live this? So I'm really excited because next week Reverend Janice is going to speak for us, and she's going to really peel away the layers, you know, like a beautiful bulb of garlic without the smell of Holy Week and Easter and Passover and all that, how that's all happening now, right, in the Judeo-Christian world. Even Ramadan is happening now, where she's going to do the metaphysical interpretation of that. So come and join us for that, because she's an amazing speaker and teacher. And today we're going to have our annual meeting. So I'm glad you're all here. I invite you all to stay. If you're staying, we have a little snack for you so you don't pass out from hunger, and some coffee and tea for the first time. So we invite you to stay for that. We'll start that at 12 because we have a Zoom for those who requested it. And so we're going to have a fun meeting, and you're going to hear all about some of you've already read in the reporting, but some of it you haven't, about all the good work that we're doing together. Yes, perfect timing. Okay, so we're now going to have Mark Benfante playing a Daniel Nahmod song for us.
People say the world is always speeding up, that there's hardly even time enough for love, that Mother Nature doesn't get things done the way humans can, that we must never stand in the way of progress. It's time to slow it down, slow it down, slow it down now. It's time to take a breath, and slow it down. It's time to look around at where we are now, at what we've become, and where we're headed. It's time to slow it down. Na, 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 na. It's time to slow it down. Na, 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 na. I don't buy what these Google folks are selling, that we should all be living at the speed of light. Seems like all these glowing screens are always yelling to fill my head, but never give me peace of mind. It's time to slow it down, slow it down, slow it down now. It's time to take a breath, and slow it down. It's time to look around at where we are now, at who we've become, and where we're headed. It's time to slow it down. Na 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 na. It's time to slow it down. Na 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 na. It's time to slow it down. Na na na. It's time to slow it down.
So, good morning.
Good morning. Great to see you
welcome to everyone that's zooming in or actually watching on the internet. Not Zoom, sorry about that. But I am Lori Carlson. I'm a practitioner student here in Morristown, and I'm very happy to be part of service this morning. As Reverend Frankie said, the creative process is always happening, so we get to use it or it uses us. And today she was focusing on lightening up that process. So I invite you to join me in a meditative practice to help us do just that. So I invite you all to close your eyes. Take a breath. And bring into your mind and into your heart a time, a memory, a person, something that you love that fills you with joy. Just really allow it to settle in. Breathe it in so that it expands into every part of your body until you feel full up with that feeling of love and joy. Let it show on your face. Let it be obvious in your posture. Really feel that in your body. How does that feel to you? Now I invite you to bring into your awareness something that troubles you, a worry, the state of the world. How does that feel? Allow it to show on your face and in your body posture. Now ask yourself, is this the energy that I want to bring into the world? Is this the face I want to show? We know that what we focus on magnifies. So if we choose to return our attention back to the good and the joy and the love, we bring forth that energy out into the world. So now I invite you to return your attention to whatever it is that brought you joy and love. Breathe it in. Allow it to erase any trace of the worry or the sadness or the problem. And just really feel it. Now, isn't this who we want to be in the world? Allow it to shine forth from your very essence. Allow it to beam forth from your smile. Now I invite you all to open your eyes and to share that expression with those around you. Smile, laugh, wave, jump up and down, whatever it is that expresses the joy of life to you. Share it and project it out into the world around you. And how does that? Isn't this who we want to be in the world? Isn't this the energy we want to bring to the world? I know it is for me. Now, I'm not advocating spiritual bypass here. I'm not saying that, oh, la, 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 everything's good. If you smile, everything's fine. What I am saying is about consciously returning our attention to the good, to the joy, to the love that is the essence of who and what we are as children of God, that we can bring that forth into the world, that we can inspire it in others, and we can bring that energy out in everything we do. We can be beaming receptors and broadcasting stations, broadcasting stations of love and joy, simply by smiling, simply by finding the good. It doesn't necessarily get rid of the problems, but it does give you the strength to help better deal with them. It reminds you of your oneness with God, or it reminds me of my oneness with God and my oneness with all of you, and that I am love. I am joy. The God within me is expressing as life, as love, as joy. So I invite you all to remember that today, to bring that out into your daily life, and to just smile a little more, laugh a little more, make a silly face, whatever it is that will help you to remember that you get to choose to use the creative process and to focus your attention on the good. And by doing that, you get to bring more good and more joy and more love into the world and become love in action, which is our motto here at this center. And so I invite you all to do that today. And from this place of love and joy and appreciating our community, I am here to remind you that this is our time for giving. And that this is our spiritual practice, the practice of giving back to that which feeds our spirit. And so you can give through text to give, you can give on Breeze, you can give on our website. I personally go to the website, it's just easier for me. I know Reverend Frankie likes text to give. There's envelopes there that you can leave your contribution right here. But whatever way it is and however much it is, remember that it is your support that allows us to be here. It is your support that brings us as a community out into the world as a source of love in action. So please remember that when you go to make your donation, please give from the heart, give with the idea that the more you give, the more you receive. Maybe not in actual dollars, but in abundance of spirit, in abundance of love, in abundance of joy, in abundance of community. So I invite you all to spend a moment and just place your hands on your heart. And if you're not giving right here, right now, just think about how it is that you're going to give. How can you give back to the spiritual community that fills your soul as it fills mine? And from this giving place, I invite you once again to close your eyes and join me in a closing prayer treatment, which is our word for affirmative prayer, as we affirm our good. And so right here, right now, I invite you to join me in this beautiful sacred prayer field, where we know that there is one power, one source of all that is, the good, the God, the creative energy, the one divine mind. I know that this is the beginning and the end, the Alpha and the Omega, that this power, this source, this amazing intelligence that created everything from the smallest grain of sand to the farthest reaches of the universe, that beats my heart and breathes my breath. How glorious is my God, and how grateful I am to know that I am one with this God, that we are each just unique manifestations of this one divine energy. It is our job to remember that and to demonstrate that here in all we think, do, and say. And so right here, right now, I affirm that all is well, that God is good, that this community goes forth as love in action, as fools for God, that we smile and laugh more, that we bring forth this teaching into a world that sorely needs it. I affirm for this community that we go forth ever growing, ever expanding in consciousness, in connection, in our community involvement, in the way that we show up in the world. I am so grateful to be a part of such a loving community. I am so grateful to know the truth of who and what we are. I am so grateful for Reverend Frankie, for our leadership council, for everyone here and everyone listening in. I am so grateful for this opportunity to be of service. And so from this place of extreme gratitude that shines forth from my very being, I release this word into that law that can only say yes, knowing that as I think it, speak it, and do truly believe that so it must be. And I invite you to join me in saying, and so it is.